best way that I can sum this film up is that it's what happens when a studio has access to several different sets and an entire costume department, but they don't really have a story, so they decide to just cram them all into one thing. Hey everyone, it's me, Aaron.
I'm Michelle.
And this is Viewer Request Week, and today's request came from Night Wingnum 1, and the film that we're talking about is Waxwork, and I wanted to watch this film because this is going to be a very weird sentence, but out of all the horror movies that I've watched over my entire life, I have never once seen anything from the very niche wax museum subgenre of horror films. Because that's like an actual thing. Like back in the 70s and 80s, wax museums were just like, I don't know if they were super popular, I don't know if they were a new thing, I don't know if they were like something that was being rediscovered, or if it was just one of those things where one person made a film about them and everyone else was like, oh, we can copy that premise. Because there are not a ton, but considering how niche wax museums are, there's far more movies about them than there ever should be. But I've never actually seen any of the wax museum horror movies out there.
This is another one I haven't seen, and I just want to say I'm sorry for not seeing as many movies for Thorgiween.
We knew this was going to happen because this is your very first year going back to college.
Yes.
So we knew that you were going to be busy this Thorgiween.
So you'll be doing most of the movie
Most
watching.
of the stuff this week, it was just me.
Yes.
So just to let you guys know.
Yes.
But yeah, what this film is about is that it is about this group of high school students. All of a sudden, this wax museum opens up in their neighborhood, and not neighborhood like down by the mall. I mean, like in their suburban household neighborhood.
That's weird.
Just walking down the street, and all of a sudden, like one of the unsold houses just has a big sign up that says Waxwork on it. Okay, interesting. Like they even go up to the house and like, why did you open this here? There's not going to be any customers. And like, oh, well, you can come over for our special event. We need 6 people to come over. But what is so different about this Wax Museum movie is that most Wax Museum horror films, the premise is that the wax figures come to life and chase you down,
or wax
you
figures,
get turned into them. Like there's a serial killer that kills you and turns you into a wax statue. This is every single wax statue, every single display. It's dedicated to like killers or serial killers or monsters, and they're all real, but they're all their own world. So if you cross the velvet line and go into the actual display, you are now transported into this own little pocket dimension, and that makes this film almost like an anthology. It's very interesting because it's not an anthology. All these characters are, they're sticking together, but like when the first person that we see, they walk into this display for a werewolf, and now he's just suddenly in the woods. And he's also like in a puffy Victorian era shirt, and he's got long, scraggly hair. He's just looking around like, what the heck? What? Oh man, somebody must have spiked my drink. Wait, I don't drink. And that style of humor, although this film, the style of humor in this film is freaking nuts. The closest thing that I can compare to is Return of the Living Dead. Remember Return of the Living Dead from last year? Mm-hmm. And how just corny that thing was? And don't get me wrong, I do not use corny in a negative way. Corny is part of that film's charm. I love the corniness of Return of the Living Dead, and I kind of love the corniness of this film. This film, it really is just like Night of the Living Dead, but almost like
Return of the
Living Dead, yeah, sorry. But almost like the other side of that coin, and I knew that the second that we met our group of protagonists in here. Because remember when we met the protagonist from Return of the Living Dead, and it was the most cartoonish depictions of punk characters you ever see? Like everybody just like, their names were like Murderface or something, like they just had like this big spiked mohawk, and they were just like, again, like Mad Magazine cartoon depictions of punk rockers. This is that, but for rich preppy kids. I constantly refer to rich preppy kids in horror films as Chad Winsington III. Mm-hmm. This is the most Chad Winsington III group of characters that you've ever seen. Like, the protagonist, who I kept looking at going, no, he's not a real protagonist. We're going to get an actual protagonist, because this guy has all the makings of the douchebag character who gets killed, so the audience is going to go, yay, the douchebag character is killed. Now we get the real protagonist in here. No, that's our protagonist of this film. It starts off with him in his big mansion, his mother talking to him about, I wish that you would take your studies seriously. And like they can't see each other around like the giant flower pot in between them on the giant, like that's all humor. And he's got like a butler who's going, your coffee, sir. I'm sorry, your caffeine, sir. Because for some reason he doesn't like saying coffee, just like saying caffeine. I guess it makes him feel more like an 80s business guy. And your nicotine, sir. Like his butler is giving him a cigarette in his mouth. Thank you, Jeeves. This is our protagonist. This is the guy who's going to be the hero of the film. And every one of his friends is kind of along that same level of douchiness. But they go into he goes into this wax museum, and he goes up to this house in the woods looking for answers, and the guy's there, why are you here? You must get away from me. What? Go on, get lumber, get some firewood. What are you doing? Like, it's just this very weird, just all over the place. It almost feels like part of this is improv, and they're just going like, all right, just do what you gotta do in here. And then it turns into a werewolf film. He gets bitten, he starts turning into a werewolf. Some hunter guy comes in there and shoots him when he's turned into a werewolf. And then all of a sudden, he is now just there in the display as part of the wax museum, but as like a transforming werewolf guy. And another way goes into like a vampire display. And you basically just have a short 5-minute long vampire movie. But it's a pretty good 5-minute long vampire movie. It's genuinely creepy. They do some good stuff with the effects of the vampires in there. I was actually really enjoying this premise of, hey man, you just want to keep giving me like little tiny anthology horror things with these characters that we're following, like an anthology of characters connecting with each other that all stems from one focal point. Okay, yeah, I'm down with that. That's an interesting idea, and maybe we just get like 9 different horror films all for the price of one in here. But it doesn't really do that after that. After that, everybody else leaves, and it goes back to being, okay, we have to now find out where our friends went. They have to figure out the mystery of why those 2 friends who went in there, they're now gone. What happened to them? And so they pair up with like a cop, and of course, the cop, you think about like the cop from Night of the Creeps, or some of these other horror films that had very iconic, over-the-top policemen. This cop, not only is he constantly smoking, but when he's not smoking, he's holding a match in his teeth the entire time. Like, just that level of over-the-top. But it's a rare 80s horror film because the cop actually is like helping them despite how much of a dick he kind of seems like. But he kind of believes, yeah, okay, I think something might be going on there, but I can't just arrest him because I think something's going on, so he's trying to investigate. And he, of course, ends
up like all the protagonists, all the heroes that you're rooting for are dicks in some sort of way.
Yeah, but they're so over the top that you kind of still like it because it is kind of like Return of the Living Dead, where everyone in there is really either stupid or an asshole, but they're so cartoonish that you enjoy it. It's kind of the same thing here. Everybody is so over the top that even if they're just a complete D-bag, you look at them and just like, yeah, but there are D-bag. They're so goofy. I'm still enjoying watching them. So again, it's just one by one, people just keep getting thrown into these different wax things and just living out all these mini horror films. And there comes a moment where they have to go and they get information on what's going on. And they go to this old man who's in a wheelchair, and that's going to come back around, by the way. And this old man, he's kind of like the Van Helsing in this film. He's that guy who he's researched this stuff, and he knows about this. And he mentions that this wax museum, it is actually portals to other worlds, and they need to sacrifice a certain number of people to it. And if they do sacrifice a certain number of people to it, then all the figures come to life, and they come into our world, and they will take over the entire planet. Which makes sense for like the zombies or the vampires, but there's some in here that they're just like crazed guy with an axe. Which that poor guy, the guy playing the crazed guy with an axe, after he comes to life, because they get enough sacrifices in there, they all come to life, and then there's a scene where they have to stop them all from escaping. The guy with the axe just felt like he was some guy who did not know what to do on the set. Like, he was not an actor. He was just some guy, like, he was a cameraman, and there's like, the guy didn't show up today, we need you to be in there, because he was just like, all he does is growl, and all his growls sound like, is this right? Is this what I'm supposed to is this what I'm supposed to he constantly has that look on his face of, where's my mark? Where am I supposed to stand? All right, right here. Right here.
Okay, I'm ready. I'm done with the warm-ups. Wait, you were recording? What?
We don't have time for a second take, man. There's several lines in here where it's like, you did not have a time for that second take, man. Yeah, this film, it does feel kind of cheap, but they did a lot with what they had. I joked in the opening of this that it does feel like the studio just had a bunch of sets from other movies, a bunch of costumes and props from other movies. Screw it, let's just put them all in a warehouse and just do something with them. That is what this feels like they did, but it's kind of fun. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm not wagging a finger at that and going, oh, that means it's cheap and lazy. No, that's actually kind of cool. That you guys just basically went, let's just throw the toy box on the ground, just do whatever we can with what spills out of there. Mm-hmm. I kind of enjoy that here. But they do just go so over the top with so many things in here. Like, the guy who runs the Wax Museum, the guy who's trying to end the world, which, by the way, if you want a perfect summation of this film and what this film is like, the guy who is in charge of all this and trying to bring about the apocalypse by summoning out all these monsters, there's a moment where they corner him, he's holding a gun at him, and he goes, well, why? Why are you trying to end the world? And he goes, someone has to. That's all he said. That's all the backstory. Like, there's no reasoning behind why he's doing it, no nothing. It's just, someone has to. That is the perfect summation for this film. We've got all these things laying around. Why not do something with it? It's fun. Excuse me. Oh, excuse me. Oh, man, sorry. I'm still burping from talking about The Void yesterday. But this film, like, that guy, he is a perfect summation of this film. Just, why not? Just screw. It's fun. But he's got, like, servants there. And one servant, he is a little person who, whenever he comes out, he constantly bows to everyone, but he doesn't just bow. When he bows, they have a whoosh sound effect. Every time. Every time they just comes out, it's like, yes, we were expecting you. Whoosh. What? Why? Why are you doing that? That's weird. And it makes it's not like it's creepy or anything, it's just, this is just, what? Like, it's a horror film. If you're going to add a sound effect, add a creepy sound effect. Why is there a whip sound effect whenever your butler bows? This makes no sense. But that kind of leads into the end of this film. The end of this film, they do end up having the final sacrifices happen. Which, this is after our protagonist, he goes into the zombie world, and he's able to break free of the zombie world. He goes up to the big barrier, and he can't get through. But then he just out of nowhere, goes, wait, this isn't real. So if I don't believe this is real, then you can't hurt me. I hope this works. And then he just jumps out there. Like, a second ago, he couldn't get out of there. But he can now get out of there just simply because he says it's not real. There's no explanation for why that should work. There's nothing that gives him the idea that that should work. There's nothing that even, like, spurs that thought on his mind. He just said, like, there's not even, like, the Jeff Goldblum moment from Independence Day of, oh, wait, hold on, like, chicken soup for the soul. Chicken soup is when you're sick. Sick will give them a sickness, a virus in the... There's nothing like that in here. He literally just immediately knows, like, oh, just realize it's not real and I can leave. Why? What? Okay, sure. Granted, the first guy who got thrown in there thought that this was an acid trip, so he already knew this wasn't real, but whatever. But he then has to go and rescue his girlfriend from the thing that she's in. She is in... Everybody in here is meant to be like a horror movie monster or a famous serial killer or something, which, by the way, there is one statue. It's the weirdest statue that they have. It is the Invisible Man. As the Invisible Man holding someone down next to a car and putting, like, a gasoline pump into their mouth.
Oh.
What's that to do with the Invisible Man? Like, that's such a... Why is the Invisible Man the one doing that? Whatever. Doesn't matter. Maybe that's something that happened in the Invisible Man. I never actually saw that original film. Anywho, what was I saying? Yeah, but his girlfriend ends up going into a world that's basically, like, just evil sex slave. Yeah, it's like, you look at it and you go, one of these things is not like the others. We got zombies, we got a mummy, we got a werewolf, we got vampires, there's the Invisible Man, there's like a witch doctor over there, there's the pod people display, and then there's just Antonio Banderas wanting to really bang someone to death. Which, that's not a joke either. This guy looks so much like Antonio Banderas. It is shocking how much he matches up with this guy. Like, I actually had to go, I didn't actually look. Maybe it is Antonio Banderas. I checked Amazon, but Amazon didn't list Antonio Banderas in here, which, again, he looks so much like him. I'm second guessing myself right now. Anyway, I'll check that after we've done. You can check it home. That's your own fun little game. But yeah, it was weird that that was the display she had to escape from. But then 2 other people come in, they get thrown into displays, they end up dying. And then all of them are freed. And then our 2 protagonists, they're at the door, it's like, no, all these monsters are coming to life and coming at us. And then the door opens up, and the guy in the wheelchair comes in. But he's turned his wheelchair into like a pine car derby of death. Like, he looks like he tried to turn into a tank where it's got like just a big metal thing in front, except it's clearly cardboard or wood. It is one of the cheapest props in this entire movie. But it's like this big camo, like metal covering around him, and it's got these 2 giant fins going up 6 feet with spikes on them in the back. Again, it looks like a pine car derby. Like we're gonna put this big fin on the back, it'll make it go faster. You look at this going, this is the weirdest thing. Why did you decide to give yourself like a robo wheelchair here? What? Wow, this is such an odd prop to something thrown in this film. But he's also got a ton of people there. He goes, this is our society that we have dedicated to stopping these monsters. And his butler is there, which that's a weird, we haven't seen that guy in the entire film, but it turns out he was part of this organization the entire time. And so the rest of this film is all these just random people who just showed up, just murdering these monsters. And he keeps talking about, if even one of them gets out, they'll contaminate the entire plant. And again, I'm looking at it just going, the random dude with the axe, he'll like, how is he going to contaminate the entire plant? Like,
it's like one of them escaped and it's Bigfoot or something.
And that's the story of Bigfoot. But yeah, so the rest of this film is just them murdering all these monsters. And again, it's kind of cool seeing all these monsters come out. Like, there's this one that had been there this entire time that nobody went into the world, but it was this woman laying dead on the display is like a city street with a brick wall and graffiti on. And next to her is just this giant green plant. And when the monsters come to life, the giant green plant opens up and like the model who's dead comes out covered in like vegetation. So I was like, oh, pod people, okay, let's go. Like, if you're a big horror fan, it is like just throwing the toy box on the ground. I used that metaphor before, but it's a very accurate metaphor.
Alright, so like when the society like kills off like the monsters and everything, is there blood or wax?
Oh. I don't think there's blood, but I don't think there's not wax. There definitely isn't that, but it kind of just depends on what they're killing. It kind of depends because there's a wide variety that they're taking out in here.
Because like,
and a lot of them are like they just punch them or something, but like some of them they shoot, and the murder scenes are so bizarre because like they've got a bunch of guys hunting down the vampire, and the vampire's just and then the vampire like drops to the ground and goes, he's transforming, and then a bat came out and went, you have to stop the bat, and then one person grabs the bat, holds it down, and puts a gun at the bat's head. And then I swear to you, this was the actual line. They point a gun at the bat's head, and then just goes, make my day, and then shoots the bat. Why was there a Dirty Harry reference in there? Why? It's like, you don't see who's holding the bat. Are you supposed to be trying to say, oh, Dirty Harry's one of the members of this group? Is that what you're trying to say? I honestly, like, the movie is so weird, I wouldn't be shocked if that's what they were trying to say. Like, oh yeah, also, it's all the heroes from movies stopping all the villains from movies. I think that's what they were trying to do in here, which is, it's almost like Ready Player One at the end of this thing. Because there's like a moment where the girlfriend, she finds the butler who was the little person, she picks him up and just takes him over to the big pod person plant and just drops him inside, and the plant just goes, feed me. How are you not getting sued by many people right now? But at the end of this, they end up dropping the guy who runs the wax museum into the big vat of wax. And then, of course, he comes out one last time, grabs our hero, and then just goes, "Wouldn't you like to take a closer look?" Because that's what he says before he shoves someone into there. And I was like, oh, he's going to drag him down into the big vat of wax. No, he just goes, and then falls into the pit of wax. And I'm like, why bother doing that if you're not going to do something with that? So then they light the entire place on fire. Everybody in there dies except for the protagonist and his girlfriend. Which the guy in the wheelchair, he comes in there and he shoots the guy, the big villain, and he's the one who causes him to drop into the vat. But now a fire is breaking out, and the guy in the wheelchair, he can't get away from the fire, and then a werewolf walks up behind him and rips his head off. It's like that level of cheesy over-the-topness. Like, that's what you're expecting in this film. But yeah, this film, by the way, when they're escaping the house, there is the worst fire green screen I have ever. Like, it is the type of green screen I would do with a fire. Like, it's clearly just put green boards up in the window and then just put like a generic fire display in there, and there's like fire coming out of one of the windows, but it's clearly just cropped the image of a fire to be a straight beam going up and down. It is so cheap. But again, that's part of this film's charm, is that, yeah, we didn't have a budget, but we had a bunch of pre-existing props. Screw it. This film is a ton of fun. It really is. Like, if you are a big horror fan, but like a cheesy horror fan, and you just want something goofy that involves like all the monsters that you know, this is up there. Honestly, with all those like monster mashup films, like Monster Squad, I was gonna say Hotel Transylvania, but I was trying to think further back than that. The Rankin Bass one that they did.
Oh, Monster Party?
That's it, yeah. Like, if you just enjoy like those things where it's like, I just want a goofy film and starring a bunch of monsters, man, this is a good one. This thing is hilariously over the top. I really do. I am putting this up there with like Return of the Living Dead. I think if you enjoy the cheesiness of that film, it is right there on that same level. I absolutely recommend this thing. And also, it's on Amazon Prime, although it's oddly on Amazon Prime because I've noticed this year, looking for stuff on Amazon Prime to watch, there's a lot of films that appear on Amazon Prime, and then they appear on there not on Amazon Prime. I don't know what that is. Maybe it's so that you have the option to buy it rather than just, I don't know. It's weird. But yeah, like, I saw this film and it said, okay, not on Amazon Prime, and then right next to it was the exact same film, and it was on Amazon Prime. Exact same amount of time, exact same, like, ratings and everything, exact same description, I don't know. But anyway, that is it. That is day 3. We are about halfway through with Viewer Request Week, so remember to keep tuning in this week, see if your movie ended up getting picked. Thanks for tuning in, everyone, and happy Halloween.
Bye.